Hey everyone, welcome to a special edition of Extra Time TV. I'm once again joined by the man from Scotland, James Beard. How are you today?
Great to be here. Looking forward to our conversations and talking about all things Real Madrid and Inter Milan. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Yes. So there are many Champions League games, but of course, everybody, it's no big secret that I'm an Inter Milan fan. So that'll be our featured game of the week to speak about. Inter Milan take on Real Madrid in the second leg, which did not go well for Inter Milan. They lost 3-2 in a game that was kind of crazy and complicated to look at, and it looked like it was going Inter Milan's way, and then they left Sergio Ramos unmarked, and that's a whole other story. But moving along, they have to save Inter Milan's Champions League's hopes of progression. They have to get a result against Real Madrid, who have been struggling. They got a draw against Villarreal over the weekend, which we'll talk about really quickly. James, this fixture is a must-win for Inter Milan. What are your thoughts on Inter Milan heading into this game?
Well, to be honest, this is a do-or-die game for them. I mean, they're bottom of the table, really struggling in terms of the group stages. But the funny thing is, if you look at the last game, the game was very even, and they probably just got pipped, in a sense, with the goal at the end. But I think Lukaku comes back into this game. I think he missed out the first game, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
He scored, obviously, a couple of goals, or a hat-trick, was it today? So he's a big addition, and I think they're going to have to give everything. Real Madrid, we know, have had their issues defensively, as have both teams, but I really think Inter Milan are going to have to come out firing and go for this one.
Yeah, because Inter Milan, obviously, besides being a fan, I've been following them and paying attention to Conte's progression as a coach. They've made some really powerful signings in the last 2 seasons. Lukaku has been amazing for them. They brought in Vidal. Nangolan has returned, and it's a team on paper that should have at least got a win at least against Real Madrid and be at least in a better state in this particular group. However, it seems like from my observations, the mentality of this team is still not one that is strong enough to consistently get results. This would be their 3rd consecutive season that they're on the verge of being knocked out from games that they should have won. Last year in the group stage, there was a game where they were 2-0 up against Borussia Dortmund, and they just sort of fell apart. And games that they should win, they draw. The season before under Spalletti, they held Barcelona to a draw, and they should have come out. They made hard work of teams that should not be a problem, and I'm starting to think it's mental. And Conte definitely has his work cut out, because I've been following Inter Milan as long as I know. And since the Jose Mourinho era, after the trouble, and maybe they had 1 year after that, with Leonardo as a coach as well. And we won't mention Rafa Benitez. He wasn't there long enough to make a difference. But they seem to have some sort of mental issues. It's a psychological thing. I think Conte addressed it today, because they came back from 2 goals down today against Torino. And they looked like they were going to lose. And sure, the result was really good. They had a 4-2 result. And Conte was angry. He said, this team really needs to, step it up. And on paper, it seems like he's crazy. But I understand where he's coming from. I think he noticed that this team is almost like they are comfortable coming from behind rather than taking initiative. And I saw that again today. It's almost like they need to be scored upon for them to wake up. And they have a really strong team. Lukaku's back. I think the defense is pretty much the best defenders available. A lot of people are criticizing the formation of Inter Milan, which we'll get to. But, they have to win this game. And, before we get into the tactics and things like that, that's an issue that definitely needs to be addressed. But before we speak about that, Real Madrid. Let's head over to Real Madrid now. They drew 1-1 with Villarreal over the weekend, the Yellow Submarines. They have not been doing well this season, James. Real Madrid are struggling. And, this game, while they are in a better position somewhat than Inter Milan, how do you think Real Madrid are looking heading into this game?
Well, I had a chance to watch some of the game they had, obviously, yesterday. And to be honest, I found they were horrendous. Yeah. Gerrard, I think, who scored the penalty, had maybe 4 or 5 chances, and he could have won the game for Villarreal. So I don't think they're firing on all cylinders. We spoke about it before. I think it's individuals that are pulling them through. I thought Courtois had some saves, although he wasn't at his best in the game yesterday. Benzema, I think, really has been carrying the team, in my opinion. I mean, he's really come out of the shadows and is trying to drive them forward. and even the skipper Ramos, he's been blown hot and cold, you know. So I think that both teams have a very similar problem. It's individual errors, you know. And as you said, they're not able to dig themselves out of these holes. Maybe in the past, Real Madrid, but they had so many stars that they could cover over the cracks. Now they don't have that. And when the yellow submarine was shining off of Zidane's head, they were all sorts of trouble yesterday. So I think it's going to be a tough one for them. But again, the two teams are very evenly matched. I mean, as I say, the last game, 3-2, and it could have went either way. So it will come down to who wants it most. But I think my head definitely says Inter Milan are going to really give them a good run for this one.
And the thing is, even here, I'm pulling up on my screen here, Real Madrid also have a lot of injuries heading into this game. A lot of players are missing. Remember, what do you think about the injury crisis heading into this game?
Well, they've definitely got the injuries, but I think I was reading just before the game, I think it's Casemiro, I think it was to do with COVID-19. So he had this test, so they're not 100% sure until obviously right up to game time if he can play or not. So obviously I was watching a video recently about him, Modric and Toni Kroos. They said they were the resurrection of Real Madrid, that three midfield there. So he would be a big loss for them. Obviously, I think defensively, as I say, has been their big issue. I think they have enough pace going forward no matter what. The fact Hazard came back in the last few games, so they have enough even throughout their bench, because I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was one of the young guys who scored the goal against Inter Milan, the winner. Is it Rodrigo? I think they got from Brazil, yes. So they do have some younger talent on the bench that can come through, but I think they really need to make sure they have a solid backline, and we'll see if they can do that.
But in terms of formations, Inter Milan, I'm trying to pull it up, but I can't. So Inter Milan are known for their 3-5-2 formation. Conte loves that system. A lot of people don't like it, but he seems to like it a lot. He used similar systems in Chelsea and even with Italy as well. A lot of people have been criticizing Inter Milan for conceding a lot of goals this season. In every game, they seem to concede goals. The back three does not look solid at all. And they seem to concede goals in every game. Getting clean sheets is a huge problem. And Real Madrid as well has been leaking goals as well. So, obviously with Conte heading into this game with basically all his attacking players fit, a lot of people are asking, the use of Lukaku, Lautaro Martinez, and Sanchez versus Lautaro Martinez and Eriksen. Because Eriksen has not been doing really well, as expected for Inter Milan. Some people are arguing Eriksen that the trio with Eriksen should start, and some are saying that the trio with Lukaku, Martinez, and Sanchez should start. And he doesn't seem to be playing what on paper seems to be his strongest lineup. Vidal and Nainggolan in the midfield. On paper seems like a very strong midfield. But what do you think about Conte's formation?
Well, I think Conte's been definitely a tinkerer in terms of formation. I mean, from his days, I remember at Chelsea, and even before that, so he tends to play players, in my opinion, out of position. But I think the fact that they got this 4-2 victory yesterday, and Lukaku played, Sanchez played, I think he will go with a very similar, I think that was probably, in a sense, a practice for the big game, But one of the issues I find with both of the teams is, I watched both games, just trying to play out at the back. Mm-hmm. Because they have these defensive frailties, they put themselves under so much pressure by trying to play the ball at the back. So, I mean, to me, both teams have great width. Both of them have great width, great pace. But defensively, trying to play out at the back, they put themselves under so many problems. So I think, realistically, in my opinion, they need to kind of be a bit more rugged, a bit more disciplined defensively. And that could get them through the game rather than, they have the options up top, They can get goals up top, but they really need to make sure that, in my opinion, defensively is where the game will be won or lost.
Yep, and one of the issues you can argue is that, both teams had their injuries and so on, but with Inter Milan specifically, playing out from the back is something that Conte clearly likes to do. And last year, we got glimpses of it at the beginning of the Champions League, where when it works, it looks wonderful. it really looks good, but when it doesn't work, it's horrendous. And oftentimes, they have like some very ridiculous mistakes, and maybe that's what Conte is talking about. In the last game against Real Madrid, there was a set piece, and Sergio Ramos, who is known for scoring headers, that's one of his main characteristics, was left completely free. And also a defensive mistake where Hakimi tried to do it should have been a foul, where he was fouled trying to do a back pass, and they gave away possession. He essentially gave the ball to Benzema and he scored. And while I like the formation, it still hasn't been great. And also Lukaku up front, as we're talking about, because there's a heavy reliance on Inter Milan with Lukaku, where his hold-up play, is very essential in how they play. And if they don't have that physical presence where he holds the ball up in midfield, lays it off, and then tries to finish it off, he's actually a very improved player, because I had some, doubts about him when he came to Inter Milan. So him being there takes a lot of pressure off the defense, but it's clearly obvious when he's not there. It sounds strange for a striker, but he definitely takes a lot of pressure off the defenders and the midfielders as well. And heading into this game with the strongest lineup can definitely bode well for Inter Milan. But I think the other issue that, as I mentioned before multiple times, it's the concentration. I think even last year when they had Godin, who's an experienced defender, he struggled in that back three system. Even this time, they still have those moments where an individual error or some moment of brilliance can cause a goal. Because I think the final goal for Real Madrid, they were positionally a bit wayward, and I don't know why the name eludes me. The young guy, the Brazilian who scored, he basically had a clear shot on goal for a team that's supposedly very defensive when they need to be. When they have three at the back, they can easily switch to five at the back, the way how he plays, with Ashley Young on one side and Hakimi on the other side, depending on how he plays. So, that's to me, it's more mental for Inter Milan. But I think having Lukaku there and Real Madrid not playing well, they can't fancy their chances.
Yeah, I think Lukaku is like a steam train. Once he gets going as well, and I mean, even in the game against Torino I watched, when he starts running with that ball, I mean, he can literally bowl through players, And actually, as you said, he has improved dramatically. I mean, to me, his passing, I think 2 of the goals, I mean, he assisted in as well, today. So he's able to pass, he's able to hold up the ball, and obviously he's able to finish. But you're right, what you touched on defensively. I think it's difficult to play a back three. I mean, we know many Italian teams in the past, played it. I mean, we know the Italian teams are renowned for it, but to get it right is something very difficult. And I think Conte's done it in the past. Is it working at the moment? Well, to me, it's a hit or a miss. But I think it all comes down to your wide players, as you say. Your in a sense, your left and right midfield, or your wingers, making sure they're tracking back as well, especially against the pace that Real Madrid have. So it's going to come to those 2 players on either side. I mean, are going to be huge in the game. They're going to probably be the deciding factor. I mean, if they track back and they're able to attack as well, it'll work well for them. But if they don't, obviously, Real Madrid could rip them apart, So it's going to be a really, really good game. A mouthwater in an actual game, and especially because it's all or nothing for Inter Milan.
Yep, just before we head over to Real Madrid, Real Madrid did something that, kind of built on what you were saying. You can see that Zidane had this in mind, and it's almost like they were trying to lure Inter Milan in and attack on the break. And it looked like Inter Milan were pressuring. In fact, when the goal was scored, it was from a mistake. Inter Milan were actually playing better at that point in time. So it's clear that Zidane has identified this. Let's sit back, absorb some pressure and attack with pace, where the wingers are high up. And as you said, this system is heavily reliant on wide players. If these wingers, because they're proper wingers, understand that position or don't, that can make or break your system. And I'm guessing that's why, I was strangely shocked when he brought in Ashley Young. I'm not a big fan of him. I think, his best days are behind him. I think he makes up for his lack of, pace and stuff now with more experience now. But I think Inter Milan is definitely going to have to pay attention to that left side of their midfield / defense offense. But let's head over to Zidane. What do you think? How do you think Zidane is going to approach this game tactically with his formation?
Well, I think he's been playing this 4-3-3 kind of formation, which to me he plays very narrow in the middle of midfield in a sense. You know, he's got obviously Casemiro, Cruz, and Valverde played the last game. We'll see obviously if he changes it up. You know, obviously Modric. We don't know if he's fit. You know, etc. But I found that he could have probably dropped Hazard back, you know, into the centre more. But to me, in the games, he's been playing Hazard more on the left. You know, Asensio on the right, and obviously Benzema through the middle. But again, he's got so many options because the other players on the bench as well. You know, so. But I think he's scraping results. Even if you look at the result yesterday. So domestically, they're kind of struggling. I mean, but they always say good teams scrape results. And again, we spoke about it before. We were not sure if they would be able to overcome Inter. They did 3-2, obviously, in the last game. So could you say it's luck? Could you say it's been a good coach? Could you say it's been a good collective team? Maybe. But I think, I mean, he definitely has the depth there. And we will see what team turns up this week.
Yep, you know, so I'm taking a look at the groups here. So obviously, the group standings at least. And obviously, as it stands, Inter Milan, you know, at the bottom with 2 points, which is crazy. Real Madrid, 4 points. Shakhtar Donetsk, 4 points. And Mönchengladbach has 5 points. Now, it's a lot closer than it looks. And, you know, credit to Mönchengladbach and Shakhtar Donetsk, two teams that when people asked me about the group, I told them, I was like, you know, this is going to be a hard group. And of course, you know, people like to dismiss these teams. I don't know why. The lack of respect is astounding. But on paper, at least, of course, the game is not played on paper. Everybody was saying, you know, Real Madrid and Inter Milan. However, you know, things are really bad. So, you know, Inter Milan have to win this game so they could actually get back into a decent chance of getting out of the group. But the group is still pretty close. You know, one victory for Inter Milan and one loss for Real Madrid, and all of a sudden it's a crazy group. So, you know, with knowing that is the case, do you think the pressure of a third elimination, you know, in a row for Inter Milan at the group stage would affect their performance?
I mean, I think there's going to be a huge amount of pressure on, obviously, both teams, because you've got to look at it this way. Obviously, Mönchengladbach play Shakhtar Donetsk, you know, this week as well.
Yeah.
So it's either going to go two ways. I mean, Shakhtar Donetsk win and they go on to 7 points, which is 3 above, you know, Real Madrid, and then a good bit above Inter Milan. Or then Mönchengladbach go and win and they go on to 8 points. So really, one of those two teams virtually has got their foot in the door, you know. So as I say, it's a do or die game this week. That they'll be looking at that result. I mean, obviously for them, the best result would be a draw, you know. So then so Inter Milan could claw a few points back. Real Madrid could maybe do the same. So it's a really huge week. If Inter Milan obviously lose this game, that's it. I mean, there's no two ways about it. I mean, although yes, you could argue, you know, there's at least one more game, but they're not going to do it, I don't think, in my opinion. So they need to win that game this week. And in the same sense, if Real Madrid lose, you know, Inter Milan go to 5 points. So it's a really precarious situation for both teams.
Yep. You know, and, you know, heading into this, you know, obviously the key players. So, you know, who do you think are the key players for each team?
Well, Benzema to me for Real Madrid he's been a revelation this season for them, in my opinion. I mean, obviously Ramos, the skipper. I think he missed a few penalties, if I'm not mistaken, a few weeks ago there. So he's kind of going through a hard time. Obviously, it was with Spain, I think, but he missed those 2 penalties. Courtois is obviously a big player. I mean, although I think he gets a lot of hype, I don't think I was that big a favour of him at Chelsea. I think he's a little bit overrated, in my opinion, but he's a good goalkeeper, don't get me wrong. So I think those are 3 big players. I like Toni Kroos. I like Modric if he's there, but we'll see. And then Hazard, I mean, we all expect the Hazard of the Chelsea days to step up. Have we ever seen him like that in a Real Madrid shirt? It's debatable. And then if you look on the other side, we spoke about Lukaku, you know, all through the show. He's obviously the big player. I mean, I really like the goalkeeper, Samir. I'm not even going to try and pronounce his second name because I always get caught with that one. But he's the skipper, obviously, of Inter Milan, if I'm not mistaken. And he's a big player for them in the night as well. And then, as you say, they brought in Vidal. And the funny thing is, Young, as we were talking about, he's probably their weakness. But in some respects, too, he's their strength, too. Because, I mean, he has developed this vintageness about his game. I mean, he's an older player, but that knowledge, that wisdom, and it's funny when he went to Inter Milan. As you said, I thought this is an absolutely crazy signing. And to me, I mean, although in the game, I think today he gave away a penalty, but there's definitely something he's added to his game, So, and then obviously Martinez has been a very good player as well for Inter Milan. So some big players, and there's ones that we've not even spoken about. So it's going to be a cracker of a game.
Yeah, definitely. And for me, I agree. To me, I mean, it's difficult to highlight one player because the games are so tactical now. But I mean, there's no doubt the influence of Lukaku. I think I can't say they missed him, but he is a key component into how Conte plays. I mean, there's no mistake. And one of my issues with Conte is that he seems very stuck in that system, very tactically inflexible these days. He's sticking with that system. He's not changing. I remember when Mourinho first came to Inter Milan, he had his particular way he wanted to play, and then he changed it. He did some tweaks. And, Conte clearly isn't doing that. He has his clear idea how he wants to play. And, we have to, I guess, trust him, I guess. But, football is based on results, So Lukaku and, I guess Handanovic has to be, on top of his game because, if the defenders, Inter Milan are going to have moments where they will switch off. I know this. I've been watching them long enough to know that it's going to happen. I have yet to see Inter Milan maintain that concentration for the 90 minutes for as far as I know in many seasons, and it's not just a Conte issue. This is a problem that Spalletti had and the coaches before had. And
you just highlighted something there, and I want to come back to it. And I thought you mentioned something about Conte there and about his tactics.
Yeah,
is it a weakness with him? I mean, for example, you think about Mourinho now, what he's doing at Tottenham. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Zidane's probably having the same problem at Real Madrid. Are they trying to play the way they played before, and it's not working? Do they have to transcend? Do they have to change their tactical views? As I say, we've seen Mourinho's done it at Tottenham. And is that maybe the issue with those clubs?
Well, I think it's an issue because, for example, Pep Guardiola at Manchester City, when he was at Barcelona and they were annihilating everyone, eventually, and funny enough, Jose Mourinho was the guy that figured him out after a while. Barcelona were destroying them, but eventually Mourinho came up with a solution and Barcelona were not as dominant as they did before. Then he went to Germany, started to dominate, and he would get undone in the Champions League. And in England, he started off pretty well, and we're seeing what's happening now. And you know exactly how Pep Guardiola is going to play. He's never going to change his tactics, and it's one of the things that makes him amazing is that his unique style of football. But it's also a weakness because eventually, if you're tactical and savvy enough, you will find a solution. And I think that Mourinho is evolving right now. He went through a phase where he was struggling. I'm not saying, he's fully back, but what I like about Jose that many people don't like is that he's not afraid to try different things. Some people may not agree, but, for people who appreciate the tactical side of the game, there's different ways to play the game. There's no one way to play the game. And I think that's hurting Conte right now. I think in Italy, whether people like to admit it or not, it's a very tactical league. The coaches are very savvy with tactics, and they will sit down and they'll say, okay, if that's how he's going to roll. They'll have some kind of, counter-attacking element to it. And it's happening, I think. I think coaches are figuring him out. And I think where Conte wins, it's because he has a very strong team. I think he has to find ways. And I think he's trying to do very small tweaks, but not change his system. And you're right. And I think the same thing is happening to Zidane. I think he lacks the personnel that he had before, which you mentioned before. And also, he may have to start thinking about different approaches to the game. And I think that's a natural cycle of football. There's periods where there was a time I remember in the 2000s where everybody was playing counter-attacking football to the point where it was boring. Teams were just waiting for each other to commit and then counter-attack. Then, Pep Guardiola came in and, people started to try to do attacking football once more. Because if you don't play attacking football, you look like a dinosaur. Now, teams are trying different tactics. I remember there was a time people would think you're crazy for using 3 at the back. Like, that was insane. The formation has returned. It's an old formation, but it's back, with 5 at the back. So, I agree with you. I think even though that wasn't part of the original conversation, but it's very vital that these two coaches definitely step things up because both Inter Milan and Real Madrid, if they continue like this, I don't think they're going to get very far in this competition. I think even when Real Madrid won the Champions League, there was an element of luck there. there were games that they probably should have not won and they won. And Juventus, for whatever reason, I know some people have some theories on that fell apart, but I agree with you. I know that's a little bit of a sidestep, but I agree with what you're saying. I think they both need to evolve and evolve quickly. And they may not necessarily have to change everything, but work with the players that you have. And folks, if you're wondering why our man in the very dapper-looking hat today knows about this, because he is, a former goalkeeper, Scottish guy, goalkeeper. He works in football. So it's not just some random guys talking, folks. It's some guys who play some football, work in football, and he coaches and is actively involved in coaching and development. And he knows a little bit what he's talking about. So when he's talking about Courtois, we'll probably get some stills of him, doing some saves. You'll send some to us, James. Why don't you?
I will do. No, but right. I think, as you said, tactically huge in the game, and as you mentioned, the Italian game is very tactical. I think of the days, to me, the 4-2-4 really was born out of Italy and probably Holland, and I think coaches need to change, and Sir Alex did it at Manchester United, and it's probably how they got the success at the end. As I say, Jose's done it, and I think, I don't believe for 1 minute that these two coaches can't do it. They can. It's just if they will, and I think sometimes stubbornness can be a big problem, because people will always find you out. And as you said, Pep Guardiola is getting found out a little bit now in a game, so you're going to have to see him change. So it'll be a really interesting thing. Will they change or will they stick with it? And it could be to their detriment. It could mean that one of them maybe ends up getting the sack, obviously, if results don't go their way.
Yep, and just to end things off, I was talking about the key players, so I said Lukaku. And for Real Madrid, I think, it's difficult to point out a key player, but Benzema, since Ronaldo left, has been the one trying to carry the torch offensively, scoring goals. The defense is far from perfect, so I'm thinking he has to have a very efficient game. I think Inter Milan are going to come at them, so he's going to have to be in top form. And so I would say it's down to Benzema and also Courtois, because Real Madrid have their injuries as well. So they haven't been. Both teams are leaky in terms of defense, so the concentration levels for Inter Milan, I think, will be the key difference. If Inter Milan can manage to focus, I think they can get a result. And just to end things off, how do you think? We usually do this. What do you think the final result is going to be? It may not necessarily be a score, but who do you think is going to come away with a victory here with 3 points?
I think Inter Milan have to win this, so because of that, I think they will scrape the result. My head says, I don't know why it's saying 3-1. I think that seems like there's a huge gulf, which there's not, but I just have a funny feeling it's going to be a 3-1. Yeah. Don't know where it's coming from.
I think it's going to be a very hard fought. If I know Inter Milan the way I do, it's going to be a very hard fought victory where they will make things hard on themselves. And I've always maintained in all the forums and different shows I've been on, Inter Milan are their own worst enemy. I think they will win, but I think they would make some hard work of it, and eventually, each game will be like a final from them from this point forward. Because to be fair to Inter Milan, in the first two games, they did create a lot of chances and should have won those games, and they did not. So, they just have to get stuck in, do what they have to do, and, stop putting themselves in these positions where they put themselves under pressure. It seems like Inter Milan loves this. So, folks, we also have our poll up right now, our Twitter poll, which you guys can go and vote, and it changes really quickly. By the time this video is done, it's probably going to change. But it says 75% of our poll says that Real Madrid are going to win. And, well, of course, the other 25% says Inter Milan. I wonder if that was me voting. But you can check out the Twitter poll on our Twitter page at Extra Time TV TT, EXTV TT. And, you be sure to comment in the comment section below. Let us know what you think. Do you think Inter Milan are going to come back, or are they going to self-destruct? Or do you think Zidane is going to get it right and, send Inter Milan packing out of the Champions League group? So let us know what you think in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Check out extvmedia.com. Follow us on Instagram. James, where can we find you?
Just my name on Facebook, James Baird. Athlete profile and my personal page, and West Indies FA also on Facebook. So yeah. Okay,
so you can find me at Andres Soklal on Instagram and also Twitter and all the usual things. And strangely enough, Extra Time TV is on TikTok with the occasional funny videos and funny things that you guys can check out. You can take a look at the most recent one with my biggest nightmare. I'll let you guys decide how hilarious that is. So, folks, once again, thank you for joining us. This is Andres Soklal, joined by a man from Scotland, James Baird, who's happy because Scotland is now in the Euros. Stay tuned for that, because we have that video coming up as well, and also some fun FIFA videos we'll be doing as well. Plus, our reaction to Trinidad and Tobago now being allowed back into playing competitive football, which we weren't under FIFA. So, folks, thank you for joining us.
Just a reminder, everyone, for more episodes with Shaka Hislop, be sure to head over to our YouTube channel. Also, don't forget to subscribe for more updates, interviews, and content.